Welcome to So I Married a Film Critic, a discussion between a professional film critic and lecturer and me, his wife of 20 years, who just likes to watch movies for fun. I'm your co-host, Julia.
This is Barry the Film Critic. Hello, everyone.
And tonight is our 100th episode.
100 episodes.
I know. It only took us 3 years.
I think we peaked in episode 2. No, you don't think so?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think
we've just
so.
gotten better and better. We're like a wine that is aged.
Well, I don't know about that, but I guess we'll let our listeners be the judge.
Yeah, I guess so. Judge, juries, and executioners. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us. Yeah. Thank you for sticking with us all these many 3 years. Yeah, it's been good.
It's been great.
Yeah.
And we decided, I decided I wanted to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time.
Isn't this your all-time favorite movie?
Yeah, it basically is. Yeah, because whenever you ask me, I mean, this is the only one I can really think of that's been my favorite for years.
We've seen it many times together, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And over the years, when people have asked us what our relationship was like before we got married, this is always the shorthand. And, this movie isn't exactly like, it's not, beat for beat, but no. I do see a lot of things, not all of which I'm going to reveal tonight, but there's a lot of similarities in the characters and some of the things that happened to them, the relationships they had prior to what happens to them. Yeah.
Pretty similar, yeah.
It's very similar. So, yeah. So when Barry met Julia, indeed, in some ways, yeah.
So when Harry Met Sally was 1989.
Yes.
And I definitely only saw this probably in college, not when I was 9.
Definitely not when you were 9 years old. And for that matter, I did not see it in the theater. I didn't want to. This was the summer of 89. This is the summer of Batman and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and The Abyss and James Bond and Ghostbusters 2. I had no interest in seeing this at all. I became aware of it because it was such a huge hit. This movie, it made more money than The Abyss and James Bond and a lot of movies that were really, really big that summer. It was a word-of-mouth smash, and I was definitely aware of Rob Reiner because of Stand By Me. Stand By Me had happened, and Princess Bride, yeah, but Stand By Me was a really big deal for me as a young man, certainly a young man who did a lot of theater and was really into movies and acting. That film blew me away with the ensemble of young men, and to know that he had followed it up with this. And not to mention, this is the guy who did Spinal Tap and The Sure Thing. But Stand By Me for me was a bigger deal. But this film was really something else because it seemed like nobody really knew what to do with Billy Crystal. He'd done a film called Memories of Me, which did not connect. He did a buddy cop movie called Running Scared, which isn't bad, but it's not that great. This was the one. This was the starring role that really launched him. And same thing with Meg Ryan. Meg Ryan had a few supporting roles, mostly playing the girlfriend or the wife. You remember her in Top Gun. But this was the one where it's like, oh yeah, she could definitely carry a film, or in this case, like co-carry it, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get into it because you kind of have issues with the very beginning.
Yeah, sure.
The opening credits.
We'll get to that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, we're there right now. The movie started.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, so we're watching the movie now, and the opening credits are in black and white. Interesting.
He has a problem with this.
Reminds me of something. And then our first scene is a faux documentary. Interesting. Faux documentary. Where have I seen this before? Interesting. And then it's a series of characters where they're not doing anything but talking. And it's established that they're neurotic. They're neurotic. They're full of anxiety. They're full of little tics and quirks. And they're in love with each other, but they can't quite say it. Where have I seen this before?
Where have you seen it before?
I've seen maybe every Woody Allen movie ever made.
And you know what, guys? I say, who cares?
Oh, I care. The thing is, Rob Reiner, people called him out, and for that matter, Nora Ephron, who wrote this film, people called her out on this too when this film came out in 89.
So no one else can do like a talky, character-driven, quirky comedy except Woody Allen in New York?
It's not that it's a romantic comedy in New York. It's the approach. It's the faux documentary angle. It's the titles. It's the music. It feels like a Woody Allen movie. Mm-hmm. So it's not just that it's a romantic comedy. I mean, it feels like it's ripping off, stealing the approach that Woody Allen would take to his films. It does. And I mean, at times, Meg Ryan is even dressed like Diane Keaton in Annie Hall. Like down the hat on down.
Maybe that's just the style.
In 1989? No. How Diane Keaton dressed in 1977? No, absolutely not.
Okay, well, all right. Now that you got that out of your system.
Yeah, I'll never mention this again, I swear.
Okay, well, we do have the faux documentary, which is couples talking about how they met, and it's kind of like interspersed throughout the film.
Yes.
I'm not going to mention it every time it happens, but I really like these couples, and I thought they were real couples for the longest time. Their chemistry is so good.
Yes, there's 5 of these plus the one at the very end. And they're all actors, ladies and gentlemen. None of these are real people. These are all actors.
I know, but it feels real and it feels sweet.
It's very well done. It is.
All right. So the first meeting of Harry and Sally is in 1977 at the University of Chicago. And Sally meets him because they're going to be driving from Chicago to New York and just kind of do like an all-nighter road trip. And he's like making out with his girlfriend. And right away, she's just like, all right, like honk, honk, let's go. And it's her friend Amanda. And then, so they get in the car and Harry starts eating these grapes. And I think this is like, I don't know if this actually happened in the script, but when he eats the grapes and he spits the seeds out, it just like hits the window. And he's like, I'll roll down the window. It's just...
The using of the grapes as a spit take is great because it's like every comic line is punctuated by him spitting a grape out a window.
Yeah.
I have it all figured out. It's an 18-hour trip, which breaks down into 6 shifts of 3 hours each, or alternatively, we could break it down by mileage. There's a map on the visor that I've marked to show the locations where we can change shifts.
Grape?
No, I don't like to eat between meals.
I'll roll down the window. Why don't you tell me the story of your life?
Story of my life?
We've got 18 hours to kill before we hit New York.
The story of my life isn't even going to get us out of Chicago. I mean, nothing's happened to me yet. That's why I'm going to New York.
So something happened to you?
Yes.
Like what?
Like I'm going to journalism school to become a reporter.
So you can write about things that happen to other people.
That's one way to look at it.
Suppose nothing happens to you. Suppose you lived there your whole life and nothing happens, you never meet anybody, you never become anything, and finally you die, one of those New York deaths that nobody notices for 2 weeks until the smell drifts into the hallway.
Well, then they have this argument over Casablanca.
Yeah. Today it would be an argument about the ending of Titanic.
Oh, you think?
Yes, whether Leonardo had enough room on the floating. Whatever.
Yeah.
What was it, like a door or
a
whatever
headboard?
it was?
Well, they did debunk that on one of those like TV shows.
They've debunked it. For one thing, it's a fictional moment in a movie about a real thing.
These guys, I can't remember the show. Dang it! You guys are
Mythbusters.
Yes, Mythbusters.
Yes, right.
They did like a science experiment.
For a contrived James Cameron movie?
Yes,
come on.
They did, because so many people were talking about it.
If James Cameron wanted, and he seriously could do it right now, he could like digitally add a few extra inches to that floating flotsam, whatever it is, and just make all of us happy. Like, oh, okay, no, it was an act of suicide because he had more than enough room. And he was like, I don't want to be with Rose. This chick is a drag. Talbot Zane is around the corner trying to shoot us.
He's yeah, it's fine.
We peaked in the car. We peaked with the step dancing. I taught her how to hock a loogie. I'm out of here, man. I'll take my chances with the fish.
Oh my gosh. But the argument over Casablanca, she says she'd rather be the first lady of Czechoslovakia, and he's like, then with a man you had the greatest sex of your life with? And she's like, yes, women are very practical. And he's like, oh, I know what this means. Obviously, you haven't had great sex yet. And so then they stop at a restaurant and she's like, I do have had great sex. And of course, everyone just stares at her.
And this is not the first moment where Sally has made a loud declaration in a crowded restaurant about her sex life.
This is the first one,
This is the first time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first one. And it won't be the last one, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. She has a tendency to publicly embarrass herself about her sex life in broad daylight.
Well, but we'll get there. But the other one was on purpose. All right. So
still.
But she has very specific ordering habits.
It's not like she's like, do you think she ever went back to Katz's Deli after that?
Well, no.
Exactly.
Well, maybe she did.
She didn't.
Oh, okay.
No.
She's like, we're going to have to find a new restaurant.
It's the O girl. Okay. Yeah,
well,
no.
Come on, we're not even there yet.
No, there's McDonald's across the street for you, weirdo. All right, sorry. Please continue.
Yeah, so she has her specific ordering habits that he notices, and then he's just like, you're a very attractive person. And she's like, oh, you are coming on to me. And
in her defense, it is the 70s.
It is. Like,
well, this is the key party era,
Well, yeah, but he's like, no, you're just objectively attractive. And then
that's a way that's a verbal way of walking around what he's trying to say.
Right. Because he does say
objectively attractive.
Well, but he's like, yeah, you wanna get a hotel? And she's like, no, you're going with Amanda. So she's like, let's just let it lie because it's already out there. And I just love how Billy Crystal's like, oh no, it's already out there.
It's a fun back and forth because on the one hand, he is messing around and he is just trying to get a rise out of her for his own amusement. But at the same time, he's obviously dazzled by her, as are we.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is then where we get into the main premise of the film, which is like, well, I guess we're just going to be friends. And he's like, well, men and women can't be friends because the sex part always gets in the way. And she's like, so men can't be friends with women that they find attractive? And he was like, no, because they want to have sex with them. And she's like, okay, so they can be friends with women they don't find attractive. And he's like, yeah, you pretty much want to nail them too. So so I'm like, well, women, it seems like women, we can be friends with whoever, but he's saying men can't because the sex part gets in the way. And she's like, well, I guess we're not going to be friends then. And that's too bad because you're the only one I would know in New York. So that's kind of the ending of
this part of the film. This chapter.
Film. Yeah, because then they get to New York and it's like, okay, well, have a nice life.
Never going to see you again.
Yeah.
But I gotta really give this movie some props for its brilliant de-aging via hair. Because there's no makeup. It's just the hair. It's wigs.
Her hair and
both of them. Yeah, both of them. Yeah, they both have these like goofy. I mean, it's very period. They look like pictures.
I think it's her hair. I just think they give her different styles.
Meg Ryan had very curly hair, but look at his hair at the beginning. He looks like an extra out of Looking for Mr. Goodbar, and she looks like your mom in the 70s. They both have seriously, they both look like our parents in the 70s. Yeah. So I like the film does that. At times he has a beard, at times he has this huge thing of hair, at times it's very clean cut. At times her hair is all over the place, at times it's very conservative. The next time we see her at the airport in 82, she looks very different.
Yeah, she looks like a flight attendant.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, but what do you think about the premise of men and women can't be friends?
You want to talk about this?
Oh, yeah.
Well, okay. Well, you know me. Most of my friends, my close, good friends, most of them are women.
I know. See, you're the reason I feel like this movie is wrong.
Well, yeah, but not only that, we've never had discussions about this. It's not okay, so you and I can be friends, right? No, it's it's a thing.
Yeah.
And I find female perspectives to be, frankly, more honest, more real. When I have conversations, as you know, with a lot of my male friends, I only have a few. Yeah, I have maybe a handful of male friends I can have really good, honest, in-depth conversations about everything about. And those are friends who, they've had tough times in life, their marriages. We've gone through different phases and whatnot. But I only have a handful of those kinds of male friends. I have a lot of female friends, and it's been because we've been able to just have these really open, honest conversations. Mm-hmm. So no, I think I don't think there's anything weird about it, and I don't think.
No, I don't think there's anything weird about it.
Me, I think there's a world of difference between acknowledging that someone is attractive and beautiful versus, hitting on somebody.
Yeah.
And, pursuing a relationship or, some kind of frivolous romance. I would rather have someone in my life who is special versus certainly before I was married, obviously, versus making a move on somebody and something that's going to last like a weekend. But I felt that way in college too. It's like, that's why I developed so many friendships, and plus I'm an actor, so like I did a lot of acting in theater. So we're in these theater troupes, we're doing these plays together, we're bonding. At times we're even traveling, as you did too. You did traveling shows. You're in those experiences. It becomes, I don't want to like say like, oh, it's a brother sister thing. No, not necessarily. It's just like, I don't think I've never found anything weird about having lots of female friends and being the guy. And even though some of my female friends were very beautiful, and there were a lot of guys like, hey, can I have her number? It's like, no, like I'll, and at times I was even the third wheel on some of their dates.
Yeah. And even when we were just friends and you kind of were like, hey, I have feelings for you, and I was not in the same place, you're like, well, it's okay. Let's still be friends. And I'm like, okay. And we were.
I mean, I have a friend in college. I'm not going to say her name, but we were very good friends for a while. And I haven't seen her in a few years now, but she called me one night and she says like, I need you to go with me on this date because this guy really likes me. And I don't know. I really need him. I'm like, okay. So I was literally the third wheel. I'm the back seat of the car. And he's like, I just want to share this with you guys. It was a long drive, wherever the heck he was taking us for dinner. And, I'm in the back seat like, so like, do you like shrimp? Whatever. And so like he puts on a tape cassette. He's like, you guys are going to like this. You're going to love this. And it's that song Walking in Memphis. Walking in Memphis. Yeah. And he's blasting it and he's like mouthing along with the words.
Oh, no.
And when it was done, he's like, I'm sorry. Just one more time. So he hits the rewind button and we hear it. Woo!
Stop.
And he does it again. I'm in the back seat and I'm thinking like, okay, if I jump out of this car right now and it's going 45 miles an hour on I-25, would I live? Because it might be worth it because this is hell. And the girl in the front seat, she was just like playing along like, yeah, the lyrics are really good. Like, listen to that drum section on the back seat. Like, kill me now. So
you really didn't have to go on this Walking in Memphis date?
Oh, man, no, but I did the first time. And to this day, I hear that song on the radio, I start to laugh, and I turn the channel immediately. I can't stand that song.
Yeah.
And I know, I'm sorry, listeners, I know some of you are like, Barry, that's like my song. We played it at my wedding. Great. But no, I hate that freaking song. Wedding. It just puts me back. It puts me right back in that back seat. And it's like 1998 all over again. Can't do it. Anyway, my point. I'm happy to suffer as a third wheel for no. I consider it an honor, and I don't know. I don't consider I don't think it's a big deal. I'm kind of like Sally in that perspective. I don't think it's a big deal to have whatever male female friendships. I don't, and I don't think there's any pressure. There should never be any pressure to be like we should date. We should whatever define it. No, like if you're friends, you're friends. That's it.
Okay, so the next time Harry and Sally meet each other, it's 5 years later. And Sally's making out with her boyfriend, Joe, at the airport.
She's now 26 years old. And it's 1982.
Yes. And Harry walks by and recognizes Joe. And he's like, oh, hey. And then I think he recognized
her first.
You do?
I do.
But then he was like, oh, Joe.
Yeah. I think he made a lucky guess that he remembered his friend's name. But I think he saw her first. I do.
Oh. He doesn't seem like he...
I think he is. No, totally I think if you watch it, he does a double take, and I think it's because it's her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they end up on the same plane together. And, she does tell Joe how they met. And Joe's kind of like, so what happened? And she's like, nothing. He made a pass at me. And then he told me that men and women can never be friends. So that was the last time I saw him. And then he ends up sitting behind her on the airplane. And, the guy next to Sally is like, oh, do you guys want to sit next to each other? And I think Sally's just like, oh, man, this guy is so weird. And so they have another one of their funny conversations. And she finds out that Harry's getting married. And she's like, you're getting married. You are. And he's like, yeah. She's like, who is she? Like, who would marry you?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I love this. All right. So... then he tells Sally that there's an amendment that men and women can be friends if they're both seeing other people. And
this is definitely not true Because how many times have you and I gone out with people and it's like, oh, she's great, but her boyfriend sucks. How many times? Like, man, like your friend so-and-so, she's great, but that guy she married, I hate that guy. He's obnoxious.
Yeah.
And then they get a divorce and it's like, sweet. So like, then we like go out again. It's like, okay, cool. Like, okay. And then she ends up with being with the right guy. Like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I feel like that's happened to us a few times. We've gone to weddings.
No, but they're not talking about like couple friends. They're talking about like, that's like if you met up with a friend for coffee and you're married to me and she's married to someone else.
But it's still like
that's what he's saying.
But it's such a sloppy dynamic because I'm not gonna name any names, but I remember you and I going out with a girl that I was dating, and the whole time I'm like, I just wish the person I was dating would disappear right now so you and I could have fun, because clearly you and I are making each other laugh while the person driving the car was not having any fun.
No, I was driving the car, but
that's right, you were. Because neither of us drove. How sad.
Yeah, I know. I took you guys out on a date, basically.
But do remember, and I was reminding Beatrice of this, our daughter. I was reminding my daughter of this today, that there was a period of my life where I didn't have a car, and I would take the bus everywhere. Yes. I even took the bus to see you a few times.
I know. I appreciated that. Okay, so then Harry says, no, I take it back. The amendment doesn't work because everyone still wants to have sex with each other. And so Sally's just like, goodbye, Harry. Which is something I would do if I was having this conversation. You know what? Just, you're so strange. I just gotta go.
I think what it is Harry's been burned most of his life. I think
his last name's Burns.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Nora Ephron making it easy for all of us to connect the dots.
Yeah.
I think he's probably just been cheated on so many times. I think his expectations have always been, I think it's gone bad for him so many times that I think this cynical outlook, as colorful and interesting as it is, I think it's like a mechanism for him to like feel safe. Like, well, like this is the way it is. And this is the way it always has to be, because clearly the way I've been doing it to actually put myself in there is wrong. Because it's not until the end of the film that he's able to actually like go against his own so-called rules. Yeah.
Even though he gets married to this other woman.
Yes. Because all of us, it's like, okay, this is something I was saying in my early 20s, and clearly I don't believe it anymore.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now it's another 5 years.
Yeah. Now it's 1987.
And Sally is at lunch with
Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Marie.
Who plays Marie, and her friend
Carrie Fisher.
Alice.
Carrie Fisher, same year as The Burbs. Yes.
Oh.
She did this. Yeah. Joe Dante and Rob Reiner in the same year. That is awesome.
So we find out that Sally and Joe have broken up, and then Marie takes out her Rolodex of available men. And I just love this idea. Single ladies, bring this back. Why are we doing this online dating thing that's so terrible? Just have a Rolodex, get the available guys, and hand out their numbers.
So what would be on each card, do you think?
I think it would be their name, phone number, email, all their social accounts, so you can, like background check them and see what they're up to. And then maybe like hobbies and job.
That's adorable and boring. Now be honest with me. What's on that card? Don't give me that crap. Hobbies? No. On a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay, how much money they actually make.
Okay, there you go. And?
I don't know. What are you thinking?
Performance. Scale of 1 to 10.
Because yes.
Yeah.
Everyone rates them and puts it on the card.
Exactly. Don't give it like hobbies. Nobody cares if he fishes.
Well, yeah, you would want to know that because you want to know if he's
going to buy him a tackle box?
No, so you know what he's doing all day on a Saturday. You need to know if your dude likes to fish, golf, like those things that take forever.
So what would have been on my Rolodex? He likes to ride the bus a lot. He goes to the movies alone. That's what he's doing on a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's kind of, like you rate them. You could rate them on all sorts of scales though. Doesn't just have to be like in bed. It could be a bunch of stuff.
Yes, but this is Carrie Fisher's Rolodex.
Yeah, Carrie Fisher's Rolodex.
So come on.
Yeah, of course she has that. Do you think she does like a 5-star scale or like 1 to 10?
I'm guessing 1 to 10, and I bet it's listing all of the people that this person dated prior.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
So
like-
you know if you have like mutuals.
Like June, Ruby, Ellen, Barbara. Yeah, it's like oh man, this John Fisher dude's been around.
He's been around. He's got to be like, this card is being retired. He clearly can't handle a relationship.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would be, hey, I like this idea. Well, it's
I love that you want to bring the Rolodex
but it's
back
like old
for this.
school matchmaking. I mean, come on. Do you know how many
You
of
don't
my-
believe in the high-tech rubric that the
Okay.
interwebs provide?
No, I've heard too many horror stories from actual friends who are out there right now.
They're out there right now?
Yeah, they're out there.
They're out there right now.
They're out there trying to
Dating
date these
John
dudes.
Fisher.
Okay, and you know what? When you live in like a community that's a little bit small, like where we live, I mean, come on. People know people. I mean, they can...
That's a Barbara Streisand song, but please continue.
Yeah, I could just go on like my local Facebook page and like ask who has dated this guy, and like I'd probably get a ton of replies. Yeah. So, all right, maybe
Have you ever tried, you said now that you live where I grew up, have you ever tried that with me?
no.
How many of you dated this guy? It's like a picture of me smiling with a thumbs up. People are like, oh God, I got stories.
It's just like you from Drama Club.
Oh man, that's a sad picture right there. My black and white headshot with my pretentious Richard Burton sweater. Oh God. Yeah.
No, everyone who knows you is just like, oh, Barry, you're so nice.
Yeah, he was my friend.
Yeah. Well, then we see Harry and his friend Jess,
Played by the wonderful Bruno Kirby.
and they're
Great
at a
actor.
football game. And I just love this scene so much because he's telling Jess about how his wife Helen is leaving him, and they're having this serious conversation. And at the end of like every like, oh my gosh sentence, like the wave comes to them.
Yeah.
And they get up.
Well, again, this is a great comedy beat. It's the same thing with spitting up the grape seed. It's like every comic, every punchline is punctuated with him doing the wave. It's great.
So we find out now we know Harry and Sally are both single at the same time. Okay, so now we're at the bookstore and we find out Marie is dating a married man and keeps thinking he's going to leave his wife. And Sally's like, he's never going to leave her. You know, this is like a common theme of like, don't get involved with a married man. He's never going to leave his wife for you. But she keeps thinking he's going to. And then Harry shows up and now him and Sally are reconnecting and they go to dinner. And I guess this is when they're like, oh, are we becoming friends now?
It's nice because it's a series of very subtle edits that take you from the bookstore to this diner that they keep returning to walking around outside. And we see, like, it takes us by surprise as much as it takes them by surprise. It's like a very natural thing. Like, they've got great chemistry.
Yeah.
They're clearly good friends. They clearly can trust each other, and they've been through a lot. And they're at a different point in their lives where it's like they've had some scars. They've had some war stories to tell about some of the relationships.
Mm-hmm.
This is not like when they were kids and, they had their whole lives ahead of them. It's like we've seen some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We've been in the carnival. We've been on the rides.
Now we're heartbroken.
Yeah, exactly. So like they both have somebody to confide in.
Well, there's this montage of their lives as they're like just going about doing normal things. And then they talk about Casablanca again. And Sally has changed her tune. Now she doesn't want to be the first lady of Czechoslovakia. What do you think about that?
What do I think about that?
Yeah, do you think that's important to this story? Or is that just like showing the evolution of her character?
Well, Casablanca, the ending of Casablanca is such crap. Let me just say that.
It is.
It is. Because I love Casablanca. I've only seen it twice in my life, and both times were so, this is a very hairy thing to say, both times were so significant, I'll probably never watch it again. But it's like, on the one hand...
Didn't we watch it together?
Yes. So yeah, I'll never watch it again. But anyway, I admire, like anybody who loves film, I admire the ending of Casablanca because it's surprising, it's uncompromised, it's bold because it's not what you expect or want, but it's also a load of crap. There's no reason they can't be together.
Exactly.
Claude Rains is such a nothing in that movie. Really. I mean, like, there's no reason why the two, like, why Rick and whatever her name can't be together.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Okay, well, he talks about low maintenance women versus high maintenance women. And I love it because she's like, well, what am I? He's like, you're high maintenance. And she's like, well, I don't see that. And he's like, yeah, you're the worst kind. You think you're low maintenance, but you're high maintenance. Which I think is funny. They share their dreams with each other. Okay. Then they go to the museum. And this is where he does his funny pecan pie voice.
Right.
Yeah, and I love this scene. And I don't know if people know the story, but he completely ad-libbed this and got her to repeat after him all these silly pecan pie, And you can see when she starts laughing, she says, "Oh no," and she kind of looks off to the side, and
Rob Reiner is
he's
go
like,
with it.
keep going.
Yeah, you pointed this out to me. That's so cool. Because if you don't know that, it still feels very completely natural, because it is. They're not really acting here. They're just kind of playing with each other, which is so cool.
So if you guys do watch this movie again, look for that because it's really funny. And then
and also, I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah. Look in the montage of stuff, the stuff that they're doing, where they're getting the Christmas tree. At one point, Harry is reading Misery. By Stephen King, which is the next movie that Rob Reiner did, which I think is, by the way, his masterpiece. So I'm like, that is so freaking cool, Rob Reiner. I don't know if he had it in mind or whatever, but that is awesome.
And Harry does read the end first.
Yeah, of course he does.
So then we find out Sally is going out on a date. So
she's going on a date, and it's established I think it's great. So they're supportive of each other, seeing each other people. So it's okay, they understand this dynamic is working.
Well, they're just kind of telling each other about the different dates that they're going on.
But I also think they're completely attracted to each other. So I do think that it's this unspoken thing of okay, they're both, of course, it's I feel a little bit threatened by this, but because we're talking about it,
it makes it easier. Yeah. Because that's where he makes the joke, and he's like, yeah, she wanted to go to this Ethiopian restaurant. And I said, I bet the menu's not very big. And Sally laughs, and he's like, yeah, see, she didn't even laugh at my jokes. And she's like, it just might take us a long time to find somebody that we're comfortable with, and even longer before we feel like we can sleep with somebody else. And he's like, oh yeah, I slept with her. And she's like, what?
Yeah.
So it just kind of highlights the differences between their two characters, where she's like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. And Harry's like, oh, we didn't connect at all, but, whatever.
I like it because it's they haven't changed that much.
Yeah.
He still is who he is, and she is who she is. And there's a scene in the middle of this where Harry and Jess play softball together.
That's the next scene.
Oh, that's the next scene?
Yeah, they're hitting softballs at the
a reference is made to a t-shirt that says, "Don't F with Mr. Zero."
Yeah.
I want that shirt. I just wanted to say that.
Oh, okay.
So if any of you need gift ideas, I want a shirt that says "Don't F with Mr. Zero."
So Jess doesn't understand his friendship with Sally,
right.
And he's like, what is this friendship? What do you guys talk about? He's like, I tell her everything. And then he tells Jess about how he made a woman meow during sex. It's just so funny. He's like, you made a woman meow? He's like, yeah, I took her to a place that wasn't human. These, I feel like the dialogue is so brilliant.
Well, it's Nora Ephron. She's wonderful. Nora Ephron, I don't believe she's with us anymore.
No.
But she was an extraordinary writer. I mean, let's see. Heartburn was the book that she wrote. Became a movie. Not a completely successful film, despite the fact that it's Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep. Mm. But she's also, of course, the author of Julie and Julia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did she have anything to do with Sleepless in Seattle?
I believe she did. This is something that just occurred to me. It's weird that Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan only did this one film together. Mm-hmm. That's weird to me because they have dynamite chemistry.
Yeah. Do you feel like there should have been a sequel, or they should have just done something else? No sequel,
something else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If she and Tom Hanks did 3 films together, and I still think the best of the films are Joe versus the Volcano. I love Joe versus the Volcano, but it's odd to me.
Yeah. Do you feel like Tom Hanks stole her
Billy Crystal's career?
Yeah.
Oh, I think they both did okay. I do.
Not okay.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is up for Academy Awards. Billy Crystal is hosting the Academy Awards. Tom Hanks is doing Philadelphia, and meanwhile Billy Crystal is doing City Slickers sequels and Monsters Inc. I think they both did fine.
All right. Well, the next scene is the restaurant scene that everybody knows. And
no, what's the scene? I don't know the scene.
Well, I'm going to describe it.
Please.
So she's kind of like, how do you know that the women that you're sleeping with are having a good time? And he's like, what are you saying, that they're fake orgasm? And she was like, most women do it and most men don't know. No, what's the line? She's like, most women...
You don't have this memorized by now?
Most women have faked it at one time, so you do the math. Like, basically, if you're a dude, it's happened to you, And he's like, no.
Impossible.
Yeah. He's like, I would be able to tell. And she's like, why? Because they would they're verbal about it. He's like, yeah. So then she has a fake orgasm.
She gives this performance in Katz's Deli.
Yeah.
And what I love is that initially Harry doesn't realize what she's doing.
Yeah.
He's like, you okay? And then when he does realize what she's doing, he makes this face like, oh.
He's so annoyed.
I see what this is now. And it's pretty great. But though at the end of her performance, he is visibly impressed.
He is.
Yeah.
But so is everybody else.
In the telly. Yeah.
Especially Rob Reiner's mom.
God bless Rob Reiner's mother.
I'll have what she's having fame.
And apparently, I looked it up. Apparently, the sign is still there in Katz's Deli that's like hovering above the table. Like, this is the table.
Oh. I bet the people that work there are like
God,
so sick of hearing, I'll have what she's having.
Yeah, I bet that's the name of one of the specials. I'm sure there's T-shirts, mugs. There's a sandwich called I'll have what she's having.
Yeah, what do you think that sandwich is?
If I was making that sandwich, what would be the big O sandwich for me?
Yeah.
Ooh. Thinly sliced hard salami.
Wow.
Gouda cheese, a smattering of lettuce, and then spicy mustard, tomatoes, avocado, and then a little bit of relish on top.
Wow, babe. Yeah. I feel like you've been thinking about this, but
I've been thinking about this since 1989.
You love a good like deli sandwich.
I had a good that's the problem. I grew up on Maui, but my childhood in Jersey, you can't take the Jersey out of the Jersey boy. Yeah. Love a good sandwich.
That's hilarious. Okay.
Do you want to go to Katz's Deli?
Yeah, I mean, if
we ever go, I'm more of an East Coast guy than you are, but if we ever go back, is that?
Yeah, because I want to say that line.
You want to say the line?
I do.
Oh man!
Actually, I want to order, and then I want you to say the line.
Oh, got it.
And then we could just cackle.
Wait, the line or the fake orgasm?
No, just the line.
Oh, okay.
We're not gonna act out the scene.
I sincerely hope not. Although I gotta say. I mean, this is jumping ahead a little bit, but they've done this as a play. So, there have been actors, everybody from, I think, Molly Ringwald and I think Mary Louise Parker. There's a few actresses who have done this scene now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have the courage to act out this scene. Mm-mm.
Yeah, definitely not. And not to mention Katz's Deli.
Yeah,
it's freaking tourists.
Exactly. I feel like everyone would get their phones out. I'd be all over
kidding.
Someone's Instagram. No, thank you.
Yeah, she's like a school teacher, you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think the line is funny. I'll have what she's having.
It is. Yeah. It's because it's surprising, and it's especially funny when we know it's the director's mother.
So now we're at Christmas time. This is our first Christmas of this movie, and then New Year's party. So there are feelings, you can tell.
Big time. They dance cheek to cheek, and they make kind of a joke of it, but then it's like, oh yeah, this was a mistake, because look what happens.
Yeah. And
it's nice because it's this unspoken moment. And when they have a very casual but distinct kiss for New Year's, and the movie the moment ends in a freeze frame. It's like, yeah, that's appropriate, because this is a big moment for them.
So the next
4 months later.
Okay, of the movie is Sally is setting Marie up with Harry, and Harry is setting Sally up with Jess. And I love this because literally there is no chemistry between Sally and Jess and Harry and Marie. It is just, you could hear a pin drop, because Sally and Jess are both writers, and I think Jess he obviously wants people to adore his writing, and Sally's just whatever. And then Harry and Marie, no, it's not a good match.
You've never ever set me up with one of your female friends, have you?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah.
No. We never did that.
Well, I told you about my friend from out of town.
Oh.
There was that. And
Okay.
that's so embarrassing
that's so embarrassing.
I don't even want to.
And hilarious
Yeah.
because when I finally met him, I was like, seriously?
Yeah, and even I was like, man, that was such a bad call. I apologize.
I was like,
So
do you
embarrassing.
know me at all?
Yeah, so embarrassing. And I think that guy to this day has no idea.
No, he has no idea.
Which is great.
Mhm.
So,
yeah, that you
bullet.
had that terrible idea.
Because again, like you and I were really good friends at this point. So I thought this would be nice if like you two would go out. No.
Oh, see, you had a Harry idea.
I did. That's why I asked. Like, did you ever do this? Because
No.
your friends are dazzling. You have like awesome friends. My male friends, including the one I'm talking about, are pretty goofy.
All of them were like, yeah, Barry's in love with you. And I was like, no.
Now, was it because you didn't know, or just like no, I refuse?
No, honestly, honestly, it was because I first didn't know.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, totally clueless.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because then to follow up, there were times where I put it out there to use the phrase in the movie.
You did put it out there, and then
twice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
twice, and then the third time
and then you're like, we're still gonna be friends.
Yeah, I know. I did shut you down a couple times.
That's okay. That's
It worked out.
it clearly worked out. Yeah, 20 years later, it clearly worked out.
We fell in love in high school.
Yeah, we were high school sweethearts.
But then after our junior year, his parents moved away.
But I never forgot her.
You never forgot me.
No, her face was burned on my brain. And it was 34 years later that I was walking down Broadway and I saw her come out of Tough and Eddie's.
And we both looked at each other, and it was just as though not a single day had gone by.
She was just as beautiful as she was at 16.
He was just the same. He looked exactly the same.
All right. Well, Marie quotes Jess accidentally, and then it's on. They totally ditch.
He's a
Harry and
writer.
Sally.
Yeah, he's a writer, and she accidentally quotes something that he wrote.
Yes.
And, take it from me. You'll never, you quote a writer, they're your friend
He's
for
like,
life.
no one has ever quoted me back to me.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Too bad I never did that to you. That would have been great.
Well, when you met me, remember?
Oh.
Yeah. It wasn't quite a compliment.
It was not a compliment.
It was like, you're that eyes wide shut guy.
Oh, yeah. Marie was complimenting Jess on his article, and I was totally like, you
wrote that article that
weirdo.
nobody liked. Yeah. You're that idiot that liked that weirdo Tom Cruise movie that everybody hates. You're that guy. Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. So months later, Harry and Sally are shopping for Jess and Marie because they're moving in together.
Yeah.
So things are going well for them. And this is when they do karaoke in the store.
This is the third incident of public embarrassment for these
Yes.
two. Yeah.
Singing Surrey with a fringe on top.
Which is fantastic.
And
because it's such a stupid song.
It's so
I love
stupid.
it. There's no dignity. There's no it's not like they're singing like The Impossible Dream or like no, this is like the dumbest song from Oklahoma. So I love it. They're committed to it.
yeah.
And it ends up being the most painful moment of Harry's life because his ex walks in.
Helen walks in with her new husband, Ira, and it's just really awkward and sad for Harry. So that puts Harry in a funk, and then they go back to Marie and Jess's place, and they're fighting about the wagon wheel coffee table.
Yeah.
And Harry loses it, and he's just like, one day you're going to end up singing karaoke in front of Ira. So
I think what makes this scene so great, because it's not just the joke, it's the joke on top of the joke. It's the same thing with I'll Have What She's Having.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much the fight about the wagon wheel and Billy Crystal's closing line. It's the tender reply that Carrie Fisher gives after they leave, which is so killer funny.
She's like, don't worry, I'm never gonna want this ugly table.
Yeah.
So, but Harry and Sally have a fight too. And I actually really love
This is a great moment. I love this.
Yeah, where, she's just like, Harry, you can't express every feeling you have every moment that you have them. And then he kind of digs into her like, don't you ever feel bad about what happened with Joe? And
it's
really,
great because it's not playful, it's not cute. Like they're having a real fight here, and it's terrific. They're playing it so good.
Yeah. And then finally, he was like, "Are you done?" And she's like, "Yes." And he apologizes, and they hug, and it's really sweet.
I feel like you and I have had this moment a few times early on. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then there's a charades party where we meet like that they have significant others at this party.
This was weird because, not to talk all about this, but like this was a really big thing at the time. There was a
charades.
There was a TV show called Win, Lose, or Draw.
Yes,
that was really big around this time. So I feel like it was being kind of. And then the weird thing is, one of the things that she has to draw is baby talk.
Yes.
That was the original title of Look Who's Talking, which was being made while this movie was in theaters.
Oh.
And then when they did a TV show version of Look Who's Talking, it was called Baby Talk, and it starred Tony Danza.
Okay, and Jess is so mean to her in this scene because she's like, draws this baby and then a mouth with all these arrows, and he's like, baby fish mouth. And he's like, Harry's just like, really? What's that? And he's like, draw something resembling anything.
It's cool because Jess and Sally have zero chemistry.
Yes.
You get the sense they would not be friends had it not been for the other person.
Yeah. No, seriously.
We have friends like this, I think. You and I have friends where, like, if I wasn't around, you would not be friends with that person, and vice versa. You have.
Don't you think everybody does, though?
I think so.
It's not like every person, your husband and wife are friends with, like, you love them 100%.
I know, but this is a pretty interesting extreme because on the one hand, they're friendly with each other, but it's a very cats and dogs sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think it's because they're both writers, and I think Jess is really competitive.
Yeah.
I don't think Sally cares one way or the other. I think
she's not impressed by him, whereas Carrie Fisher is very impressed by him.
And I think Jess
is
like,
somebody to be impressed by him.
Be impressed by me, Sally. And she's like, no.
Are you impressed by the fact that I'm a published film critic?
Oh, yes. Definitely.
Cool. I have it on record on the 100th episode of our podcast. I'm going to remember that. It doesn't matter.
So Harry and Sally keep eyeing each other, kissing their significant other.
Yeah.
And it's asking like all these questions about the other person.
It's cool because there's just a contrast between what they're saying about this dynamic they have versus the realities that they are in love with each other.
Yes. So now some time has passed, and Sally.
The phone call.
Yes, Sally calls Harry like, please come over. I just found out Joe's getting married, and this is like the fateful night, I guess, where they do have a really funny conversation.
Yeah, it's great.
At first. But Sally's like, it's not that he didn't want to get married, it's that he didn't want to marry me. And that is like just what kills her, that realization. And, she's like, I'm too structured, I'm difficult. And he's like, no, but in a great way. And she's like, I'm going to be 40. When? Someday. What, she's 32?
32 at the time, yeah. Mm-hmm.
She's like, it's like a giant dead end. So there's, this whole thing. And then, he hugs her and he gives her a little kiss. And then she's like, no, hold me a little bit longer. And then, something's going down. They do it.
I'm waiting for you to make that little fist motion.
Oh, yeah. So they do it. And then
it's a great dissolve. I love it. Because they're kissing and then it just dissolves to a close-up of her hair, and then the camera pulls back and he has this little horror on his face. It's wonderful.
Like his eyes are just so wide, like, oh no, what have I done? I mean, she obviously had a great time. Do you think he
Yeah, it's like she was back in Katz's Deli again. Yeah.
Yeah, she was just like...
She went back for extras.
Yeah, totally. Do you think he actually really...
Yeah, he did, but I think he's also shocked because...
He's just in shock.
Well, I mean, he's, I don't think he's ever been with a woman like that he loved. So I think it's like...
Well, but he loved Helen.
Yeah, but at the same time, Helen was like the first relationship he had that was a mature one. This one matters.
Mm-hmm.
This one really matters. So I think the fact that he did have a great time with Sally, I think it kind of horrifies him because he's been so vulnerable with her. It's like everything's on the table now.
Yeah.
And I suspect like he's never had that before.
Yes. Well, he does. Okay. So we'll get to that because they have an awkward morning. They both, like, he leaves and they both call Jess and Marie, which is hilarious that Marie has a phone on her side of the bed and Jess has a phone on his side of the bed and they have different phone numbers.
Yeah.
This is a total 80s thing.
I get, yeah, that's very peculiar. But, you know, the split screen is brilliantly timed.
Yeah, and they actually had to do this. Like,
that's very impressive. Yeah, the timing of it's great.
Yeah. So they go to dinner and she's like, it was a mistake. And he's like, oh, thank God. I'm so glad you said that. And it's like, oh no, that's sad. So now we're at Jess and Marie's wedding. And I'd like to point out that Marie totally has a Princess Di look. The dress, the hair, I think it was modeled after Princess Diana.
Could be. You would know.
Yeah. No, with the puff sleeves and the whole thing. Yeah. The hair, her hair, everything.
Well, she was alive and well at this point, so yeah.
Yeah. So it's only been 3 weeks since they slept together.
That's a long time, though. That's a long time for that to just be like in the air and, you know, and like being this awkward thing. And
yeah, it's like it's a long time to not talk to somebody.
Right.
But it's not a long time in the sense that it's not like it's been months.
No, but these two are like, they're tight and they talk to each other every day about the dumbest stuff. And now they can't even have that natural connection that they would normally have.
Yeah. And Harry just wants to move past it.
Right.
And she's like, you just know this was meaningful and you just don't want to acknowledge your feelings.
Yeah.
And yeah, she slaps him. She curses at him. It's actually pretty great.
I like the third act of this movie a lot.
Yeah.
After they sleep together, because it's not, oh, and they lived happily ever after. No, it's like they got to deal with the ramifications of what they've been saying contrasted with what they actually did.
Yeah.
How they actually feel about each other versus what they've been telling themselves and each other how they feel about each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, I think Crystal and Ryan are both Oscar worthy at this point. I mean, I love the third act of the film. I think, like, okay, you get past all the romantic comedy stuff and you actually get into a movie that's very real about these two people who they can't acknowledge the fact that they're actually moving forward as opposed to seeing it as a giant mistake.
And then Jess does a toast and he's like, and to Harry and Sally, if either of us found you remotely attractive, we wouldn't be here today. Man, Jess is just digging that knife in even further.
Yeah, he's like, I hate Sally, but I love Harry. Love him.
So it's Christmas time again. Sally's carrying her tree alone this time.
Very sad.
She's ignoring all of Harry's calls. I mean, his phone calls to her are hilarious.
Hi, I'm not home right now. I'll call you right back.
If you're there, please pick up the phone. I really want to talk to you. The fact that you're not answering leads me to believe you're either A, not at home, B, home but don't want to talk to me, or C, home, desperately want to talk to me, but trapped under something heavy. If it's either A or C, please call me back. Obviously, she doesn't want to talk to me. What do I have to do, be hit over the head? If she wants to call me, she'll call me. I'm through making a schmuck out of myself. If you're feeling sad and lonely, there's a service I can render. Tell the one who digs you only, I can be so warm and tender. Call me. Maybe it's late to just call me. Don't be afraid to just phone me. Call me and I'll be around.
He's singing songs. He's apologizing. He's doing everything. And finally, she's like, I'm not your consolation prize.
Have you ever left messages like this for someone?
No. This feels desperate. Like, I mean, I'm glad he does because it kind of shows how much he cares about her. But like a guy doing it, I don't know, a woman doing it feels a little more desperate to me.
Got it.
Don't you think? Yeah. Now Sally's at the New Year's Eve party again with Jess and Marie and
Third wheel.
Yeah, the third wheel.
So they're trying to hook her up with a guy, and it's not working.
No, because he has terrible jokes.
Yes.
And she's fake laughing.
Yeah. It's just awful.
I know. She can do fake orgasms. She does fake laughing. I mean, if you're a guy listening to this, you got to watch out for these tactics to know if a girl's really into you.
Man.
I know.
It's rough.
It is rough. You got to find the genuine, sincere one who really thinks you're funny. Don't you think?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I love the ending when he's like, basically he tells her he has feelings for her and she's like, no, you don't. Like, you can't just say that. I hate you, Harry.
He says, when you find someone you want to spend the rest of your life with, you want the rest of your life to start right now. And I love that so much.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic line. And,
It is.
And Crystal doesn't say it like it's a zinger. He says it like this is the most important thing he's ever said to her. And by the way...
Well, it is.
Yes, it is. And during this New Year's Eve party, they're playing the song Mr. Saturday Night. Crystal would, of course, star and direct and write a movie called Mr. Saturday Night in 1992. It was a Broadway musical a few years ago that he also starred in.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
All these Easter eggs in this film.
Well, accidental. I don't know if Rob Reiner was even thinking about making Misery, and I don't think Billy Crystal. I think Billy Crystal, had tried out the role of Buddy Young Jr., the comic that he plays in Mr. Saturday Night, but I don't think there's any connection. But of course, because he was so big, and then City Slickers happened too, he was able to do whatever he wanted. So he made Mr. Saturday Night, which I loved, and nobody saw that film, but it's really good.
So then they kiss, and the next scene is them doing
the faux interview.
Yep. Talking about their wedding cake and how it only took them 13 years to get together. Which I'm like, dang, it's a long time. So
and they talk about the stops and starts and
So that
is one of the most this movie is for the romantic comedy genre what Die Hard was for action movies. It was not the most original, and
oh my gosh!
But at the same time, it definitely set a precedent because I don't think we could have had Sleepless in Seattle without this film.
Mm-hmm.
So many romantic comedies. I mean, even one that I can't stand, You've Got Mail, is very much like it wants to be like this. I feel like every romantic comedy after this tried to be like this. And most of them aren't as good because they don't understand the characters. And I think that's what makes this movie so good. The third act is not predictable. And when they do sleep together, they don't act in predictable romantic comedy ways. It's not a given that they're going to end up. In fact, it almost seems like they're not going to end up together because they've put so much, I guess, pressure on themselves, but also just like they've established, like, look, this is what we're capable of, and they may think that they don't deserve each other in a sense,
Aw. No, but they do.
They do, but I think there's a part of them that think I think Harry thinks he's not good enough for her, and vice versa. That they can only work as friends.
Yeah, I know, but I think
but you can be in love with your best friend.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course that can work. I think that's the best foundation for any relationship.
Well, you and I were friends for about a year or so before we started dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think you can, obviously, like with Harry and Sally, they let their guard down. They were able to tell the truth about themselves without trying to impress the other person.
Yeah, and by the way, if you have a relationship like that where you fall in love with your best friend, it just makes everything easy, I find.
Yeah, I think so.
As opposed to being with someone, it's like, got to do the tap dance.
Yeah, exactly. Because
this is who I am. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, it's like exhausting trying to impress people that you like have a crush on or whatever. And if anybody remembers that or they're currently in that situation, it's just like, all right, I have to like, I don't know, like put on this show to like put your best foot forward. And I don't know, it's just not reality all the time.
No, I remember even like having conversations with you where we had just broken up with people and it was not unlike what Harry and Sally talk about in this film. Just how, you're kind of, it's a way of talking about it so that you understand what happened, but at the same time, you're trying to make a joke about it, but it's also like the most painful thing because you're kind of emotionally separating from a moment in your life that wasn't a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously you want to have these experiences with people you love and trust, and it's, in our case, certainly it was nice that it was with someone who I love very much, and you and I, it built on this foundation that we still have.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I feel very, very blessed, but I do feel very weird watching this movie. It's like, oh God, it's like 2001 all over again.
The first time we met, we hated each other.
No, you didn't hate me. I hated you. The second time we met, you didn't even remember me.
I did too. I remembered you. The third time we met, we became friends.
We were friends for a long time.
And then we weren't.
And then we fell in love.
So that's When Harry Met Sally, and a little bit more about us for those who didn't know.
More than you really needed to know, and I have to go back and edit large sections of this show.
Well, speaking of editing,
we should talk about it right.
This is episode 100 and our last episode with Barry's brother Marty editing for us. He's been doing it as a labor of love this whole time, and we are so grateful and can't thank you enough, Marty, for everything that you've done. Done an amazing job. And from here on out, I'll be taking the reins.
Which is when this show takes a serious dive in terms of quality. This is when there's going to be like one episode out every 7 months. This is like the downfall.
We basically have peaked at this point. No, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Have we peaked? Oh, man. This is the peak? We're looking at it? No, Marty started editing this show because he sent me, I think, a birthday present. He sent me a copy of the movie Rad. And he kind of jokingly said, if you guys talk about it, I'll edit it into a podcast for you. And we did, and he did. And we thought, well, that was kind of fun. So we just kept going. And he kept going.
And he probably regrets that he ever said that. No.
No, that was the dumbest thing I ever did. But no, Marty's done an amazing job.
Yes.
So Marty, thank you so much.
Thank
this was
you.
Such a gift. And we appreciate you doing this because you got other better things to do. Listeners, check out my brother's YouTube show called He Said Goose Said.
Well, I was going to say,
hilarious.
Yeah, Marty's going to be working more on his personal endeavors, comedy, stand-up.
He's really funny.
His YouTube channel. So you can find him on Instagram at The Worst Pictures and Worst WURST.
Like liverwurst.
And also He Said Goose Said on YouTube.
Yeah, He Said Goose Said. Check it out, listeners.
And then
it's
if
really
you
funny.
are in the LA area, I'm sure you can find places where he'll be doing stand-up.
He does stand-up quite often. He's very funny.
So check him out. And I guess that concludes our episode.
Our 100th special episode. Yeah.
Oh, and I did want to congratulate my friend Erica, who won our 100th episode Instagram contest.
Yay, Erica. Woo!
So she won $50 to Fandango.
Awesome.
So if you are not following us on Instagram, follow us. So I Married a Film Critic _podcast. And follow along. You can see the shows that we're putting out. We do stories on other movies that we're watching that don't make it on the podcast. And occasionally we'll do contests that you definitely want to participate in. So, yeah.
So how many stars did you give When Harry Met Sally?
Oh, 4 out of 4 for sure. Yeah. What about you?
3.5.
No, my gosh. Because it's a ripoff.
Of every Woody Allen movie ever made, yes.
You're so stubborn.
But it's a good ripoff. It's good. It's a quality ripoff. If you're going to take your Xerox machine, this is what it should look like.
Okay.
Because it's the 80s, so it's definitely a Xerox machine.
Oh, for sure.
It's not cut and paste. They didn't have cut and paste at this point. So this is a New Year's Eve movie, a very famous New Year's Eve movie. In fact, one year you and I watched it, and the cable operator actually timed the New Year's Eve scene in this film with the actual ball drop of the state that we were in, which I thought was amazing.
All right, so follow us on Instagram because then you can see my 10-part reviews on movies Barry would never watch.
In his lifetime.
No.
Yeah.
He only watches the good stuff. So.
That's not true. You know that's not true.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our discussion of When Harry Met Sally.
So here's to 100 more of these.
All right. And Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for listening.